And so it is to the printing press, to the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance. Without debate, without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can survive. Fight for what's right. Fight for your life. Here's to the printing press, to the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance. Without debate, without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can survive. Fight for what's right. Fight for your life. And so it is to the printing press, to the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance. Without debate, without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can survive. Fight for what's right. Fight for your life.
All right.
What is up, y'all?
Last minute, I hit close right on our nice screen, so it closed. Don't have it. I don't know how to bring it back. So horrible. So it held a little bit of a delay, but we appreciate you guys joining and patiently waiting. But it gives you time for me to. I had to send it out to a few different places. There's lots of things that have to happen, so we appreciate it.
Try to be on it a little next time.
Ooh, Brown Eyes Rule. What's up? What's up? Thank you so much for the super chat. Heard the DHS leaked the plan of ICE. There you go. We talked about that on the show when I went over. I was like, this sounds like, why would they announce it? Unless you want to get them scrambling. Me and Ben have been talking about that all day during some pre-garage talk to this anyway. And I think a little bit yesterday is like, well, why would you announce something? I was like, maybe to get them to scramble, get some to leave, give them a chance to sneak out. I don't know.
Or at least get a huge chunk of them to start moving southernly.
I agree.
Could be, it's one of those things. So, man, there's all kinds of you people up in here. This is awesome.
Yes, got about close to 300 I'm seeing. Again, thanks for the super chat to Brown Eyes Rule. We're going to jump into some articles here. A couple different ones.
Yeah, you were talking about an article you had went over. We want to basically lightly touch upon today. See about kind of what it is. Yeah, no, it's interesting. Like you were saying earlier in the other videos, we were talking today about how leak out their plans, then you say you're not going to do it, then you're going to do it, you're not going to do it. I guess in some optics it can be wishy-washy. Others, just the mere threat of doing it or the optics of it's going to happen could also trigger a lot as well. I mean, there's at this point, again, that's a lot of hypotheticals right now.
Yeah, you gotta kind of wait for some more info to come out, folks, and we know that at this point. Here is an interesting, for those you didn't catch it, we'll play just a fraction of the video I did earlier. This is the intro here. It's interesting.
CARE was founded after 9/11 because they recognized that some people did something.
I have no idea right now.
There's another one. Another plane just hit.
Some people did something. Some people did something. Some people did something.
Trump tells Stephanopoulos, I think I know who was behind 9/11. President Trump says he knows who's behind the September 11th, 2001 attacks, telling ABC News George Stephanopoulos, Iraq did not knock down the World Trade Center, adding, it was other people, and I think I know who the other people were, and you might also. Nearly 3,000 people died when 19 mostly Saudi terrorists hijacked 4 passenger planes, flying them into the Twin Towers and the Pentagon, while the 4th went down in a Pennsylvania field after passengers allegedly fought back. Astonishingly, the passports of the 3 hijackers were recovered, 2 at the Pennsylvania crash site and 1 from the World Trade Center grounds. While nobody claimed responsibility for the attacks for several months, a NSA and German intelligence reported intercepting communications pointing to an al-Qaeda leader named Osama bin Laden, after which investigators linked the 19 hijackers to the terrorist organization. Now Trump segued from his 9/11 comments into a criticism of America's military intervention in the Middle East, calling it the worst decision made in the history of our country, and describing the region as like quicksand. It was a terrible decision to go into the Middle East. Terrible, said Trump, adding, we're now almost up to $8 trillion spent, and when we want to build a new roadway, a highway, a school, or just something, everyone's always fighting over the money. It's ridiculous. So it was bad decision that we went there. Now Trump had a book come out in January of 2000, which means it would have been written throughout the year of 99 at a minimum. It just goes to show that he somehow had pre-knowledge of the storyline, whether he bought it, he knew people that he got a copy from, the play script, but damn near, it seems like he calls it out word for word here. Let's take a listen.
BuzzFeed dug up an old quote from Donald Trump talking about a large-scale terror attack 19 months before 9/11. In his 2000 book, The America We Deserve, Trump wrote, I really am convinced we're in danger of the sort of terrorist attacks that will make the bombing of the 1993 Trade Center look like little kids playing with firecrackers. Trump also mentioned the mastermind of the attack, writing, quote, one day we're told that a shadowy figure with no fixed address named Osama bin Laden is public enemy number 1, and U.S. jet fighters lay waste to his camp in Afghanistan. He escapes back under some rock, and a few news cycles later, it's on to a new enemy and a new crisis. Trump.
Wait.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, hold on a second. Mm-hmm. Is this really Trump before 9/11? Have you read this?
It's 2000 in his book.
Are we making this? Did you make this up, Mika?
Nick.
So there you have it, right?
So
He
very
wasn't the only one
interesting.
either. We had Bill Cooper in the summer of in June. 3 months beforehand, come out with the name. They're gonna there's gonna be this Osama bin Laden. They're gonna blame him for something, some kind of plane attack. Don't you believe it, folks? Don't you believe it for 1 minute? And you're like, wow. So this is the kind of stuff that just floats around at the dinner parties in the upper echelon there of Ben.
Well, it's the elitist conversation. It's almost like they know what the blueprint is, but they don't know which one of them at the table who's trying to get people and contractors together to have that blueprint fulfilled. It's the same idea as when you go to build a house. There's nothing there, so you go like, yeah, we know there's a blueprint around of how to build a house. Well, it'll take money and a little bit of effort. I got to do some
plotting, a little bit of
plot. I got to buy the plot. I got to do
yesterday.
some collusion. Yeah, exactly.
Colluded to build my house.
Exactly. So we know that there's been a blueprint of how to go to World War III, press these countries. We do this systematically. There's a blueprint.
Yeah,
and
we
these
say
guys
down to the timelines sometimes, but sometimes those timelines can get obscured just a hair, folks. And to them, 5-10 years, that's nothing.
That's a
It's
bump
all-
in the road,
yeah,
you know. It's a little side marker. It's okay, we've done this, and so I think it's all, you know, at these elitists table, they're sitting there all joking like, you know, who's working on the plan the hardest over here, you know. It's like, and I think you're right at this level. If Trump writes a book and he literally calls out the person by name and saying, hey, he's going to go to some rock, whatever, we're going to the next crisis, next new enemy, and this happens, plays out like he's like some prophet. It's like, no, it's like, did he know something like a lot of other people who didn't show up to work that day? They say 3,000 people were killed that day in the 9/11 attacks. Those buildings had hundreds of thousands of people working in there daily.
Yeah.
How did just
tons of
how did
people were off.
3,000
Remember
people
that?
die in 3 buildings? That's 3 buildings, 2 planes, and 3,000 people died. Those should have been
Lots of people were able.
103.
A lot of people were able to get out. We know that because of the stories. They were lined up in the
There was-
stairwells, racing to get out. They can only go so fast because. But yeah, then some were told to get back in. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't there, but all these weird stories have come out. And I tend,
would
like
agree.
you, we tend to listen to the people that were there, folks. Okay, when an accident happens, you can go back through all of them. You can go to, as long as the people survived. All right, with like Waco or some of these people didn't live, but you have, you know, you even go back to the WTC, the '95 McVeigh.
Yes.
You got the people there that talk about multiple bombs going off, and they try to tell us this truck parked over here was able to direct energy over this front of a building that was quite a distance away, where there's other buildings right over here closer. I'm not saying that truck didn't blow up, but
It just doesn't, on a logically,
Well-
critically thinking, it's
yeah, I mean the truck did blow up. We got proof of that at this point with some videos that have come out. But it's like, was that the only bomb? So you have the people there that scream a story, and then supposedly you have the law enforcement that would show up. The first responders, they're not there beforehand. They come after. And then you got the news that supposedly shows up after. And then you have government agencies that show up after. So truly, who was there? You know, the ones that get these crazy stories out that don't believe sometimes. It's like, no, the government was able to come in and listen to many people and then come up with a good, you know, middle line. No.
trying to be. We know these
maybe.
events happened. There was no denying that, you know, 3 buildings did go down, allegedly, and how they went down, by planes, by what, that's to be, you know.
There's no doubt people
be-
died. I don't know the
Yes.
number exactly. I know they've given us a number. It's probably close to that, I would imagine. So optics are everything. A good lie has got to line up. Bad lies don't. And, you know, they got a lot of them, a lot of the angles covered for sure. It looks good.
We'll keep on pressing, like we say all the time. About 20% is public, so we can get our hands on, and the other 80% we'll never know. But these people in the upper echelons, they understand what's happening.
Some of this stuff we will know, like look at the JFK files, right? We got them way earlier than what was supposed to happen, but yet there's you know, what they say, 5 or 10 more pages yet to come, and it's like, and these pages name the person, you know, which could have been somebody we all know very well, you know.
Yes, recently passed away, a good old soul, a good
Not
old
Bush
dog.
beer, but but
The father of the Bush beer.
over 600 companies signed letters supporting Trump's tariffs. That's a good sign. Got over 600 companies signed letters supporting Trump's tariffs on China.
How awesome is that? I mean, you got these companies are probably, I assume they're for-profit companies. So if their tariffs only make the main part, we the people, and I'm glad these companies recognize that.
Yeah. Let's see here.
Over 600 companies signed tariff letters, or signed letters supporting Trump's tariffs on China.
So there you go, folks. I mean, on behalf of the undersigned American companies and the millions of workers we employ, we are writing to offer our support to you and your efforts to resolve the trade imbalance between the U.S. and China. For decades, China has been taking advantage of the U.S., and we stand firm with you and your agenda to see that America gets a better deal. The letter addressed to the president stated, Many in the media and those interested in China have argued that Americans are bearing the cost of these tariffs. That is simply false. China is bearing the burden of these tariffs. China has had to lower its prices, and they are experiencing fewer exports, lower profits, and lower tax revenue as a result of the tariffs. Additionally, we will see the Chinese economy experience a slower rate of growth and employment in the future, the letter continued. So no longer should America play the second fiddle to China. It is important we stand united, but this agenda and put the country over political differences, America's national security and economy are at stake, and we offer this letter as support for your tariffs on China, the letter concluded. So the letter will be presented at a hearing to the Office of the United States Trade Representative. Trump's use of tariffs has been controversial, with claiming the tariffs will be, detrimental to the U.S. economy. Earlier this year, 173 footwear companies signed a letter claiming the tariffs would be catastrophic for our consumers. I bet so. With you.
Oh yeah, they don't like that. They don't like that. They don't like that at all. Have to actually compete at market prices. They're not, it's well known that China's been suppressing their yuan for years, so they can get a better trade indifference and imbalance to us and how they trade back and forth. And the second our goods come across, into their customs, boom, they're automatically devalued, and their tariffs are through the roof, and ours are and people don't really have realized this until, our commander in chief has been coming out very eloquently, be telling them, look at, man, we're praying that they're giving us 2%, and they're getting 17, 18, 30, 20, huge double digits. And you think, well, that doesn't, America's big, but you don't realize that we've been consuming. Now we're the number one exporter in petroleum, natural gas, energy, soon to be agricultural here real soon. I think that's getting to be a breaking point as well because of this farm bill. So it's been, we've reversed ourselves from in a matter of 2 years, from a consuming society, just consumption, turning it around to a producing in 2 years. Friggin' crazy, man.
It's been great stuff, folks. You cannot deny it. When you go to the voting booth, you're going to think for yourself. You're going to look back. I mean, there was already, me and Ben were talking about it, and I was saying, man, they're already writing books. It's just at the little over 2 year marker for him being in, and they're writing books, things Trump didn't accomplish. And it's man, normally we wait till somebody's out of office. We wait till somebody has, at least did 4 years, or what they didn't accomplish in the first 4 years that they promised to get in. I mean, we can go back to Obama, Bush, Clinton, Reagan, and keep going. Keep it to our lifetime. We'd only go back to Reagan, Carter right before maybe. But you, and some of you, I get it, go back to at least JFK Jr. or Senior, and maybe some even before. So you've seen lots of these promises, lots of broken promises, I would imagine. Obama, for example, what we talk about, Ben, I'm going to shut down Gitmo. I'm going to stop the unsurveilled and unwarranted spying going on Americans. I'm going to stop the wars. I'm going to bring home the troops. He actually expanded the wars. He actually expanded on the spying.
Everything he promised not to do.
Didn't shut down Gitmo. He did release prisoners back into the terrorist cells that went on to do great damaging things again. Folks, I can't tell you enough. It's been lies. So just on that, it's okay, Trump's doing some real backdoor bad stuff. Maybe, on some levels, I don't agree with him on everything, but on the forefront, I am about my border. I am about the rule of law in some aspects, the economy, the future of this country. At that, not so much a worldly globalization, global, one world, whatever. Got no room for that. I have no love for that shit.
No love. Yeah, no, the whole one world order, any of that new old, it's really the old world order.
Yeah.
Exactly. The bottom line is is
we're going to have a new world. It's just not going to be with all the order.
Yeah, well, I mean, the litmus test is always your constitutional rights. Can you still?
That's right. Here, so tall tale signs to look for. Tell them, Ben.
Well, I mean, just if you
just a few
can't
anyway.
bear arms anymore, if we know the freedom of speech is being, you can't truly say what you want, or else you'll get shut down, shadow banned, you'll get knocked off.
And that's the next huge issue, folks. Before the gun thing, even though they're tipping at that, they've been chipping away, offering up this and that. Is the freedom of speech. All right. So we know that Cindy Rera, thank you so much. Super chat. Thanks for all the super chats, folks.
Oh my God.
Ben,
awesome.
you said it right. So we're going to go into the First Amendment one first. Freedom of speech. They have already deemed these social media platforms, folks, where most of you spend your time. Why? Are you guys down at Town Square? Are you down there at the court steps preaching on a megaphone? No, you're busy. You're at work. You get to work, you get home, you cook your dinner, you maybe watch a tidbit of the Patriot Hour or some of your other favorite things.
Hopefully.
And then you subscribe. No, I'm just joking. But what you would do is you get off work, you're busy, you're social media, right? Twitter, Facebook, that's where you go to. And if you do any debating and arguing, I'm sure it's taking place there. People call it this new age. It's like, yeah, you're a keyboard warrior. You're sitting behind this. You feel real mighty tough. And that could be the case as well. But I'm saying that most people, if they're doing that, sometimes engage on social media more than they do out in the public anymore, unless it's some numbskull at work or whatnot. So they've been given these rights and privileges. They said that the courts had granted them, which is they don't have any fear of getting charged with malicious laws against, because they own the platforms, but yet now they're coming back through on that same promise that was given them to have no repercussion. They're starting to shut down certain views, which you would normally do. Not really views. You normally apply that, like to Ben has said in the past, to like maybe pornography or pornographic images. So you're not broadcasting that. If you're going to hurt somebody, if you see somebody and I'm going to do this and that, yes, that should be reported to the local police or whatnot.
That's a crime committed. It's a call to order. I believe, what we're talking about here is, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all the platforms. When they came out under the auspices and even in the terms and agreements said that we are a free speech platform, i.e. for the fact that, let me go over here. Sorry about that, people. My thing slipped. For the fact that you can say anything you want. It's totally free speech, obviously pending. You don't do a call to order. You don't threaten anybody's life. You don't do anything you wouldn't normally do, like, defamation of character. But what they started to introduce, and you've covered this before, of the hate speech, they started making the hate speech like that's a real thing, and people started accepting that, just like this there's more than two genders, like how do you they started accepting what's not a reality as reality. And then they turn it back and say, oh, well, you can't say that because that's hate speech. And I have to do a certain pronoun, I have to do a certain thing, or I have to do this because that's how you feel. And now we're going off of pretty much other people's emotions and how they feel rather than the rule of law and logic. And this is where the subversion for our First Amendment, because what we're doing right now, this very moment in time, I'm seeing with almost 750 people watching, this is freedom of the press. This is not so much freedom of speech. Right now, Mike and I, we are disseminating truth as we see it and as we've researched it. We've connected the dots. We've talked about it before the show. We've got this information. We have an idea of how it's going to go. And now we're presenting that to you. That's our news that we're giving you. And I have the ability to say it how I want. And you have the ability to comment here and say it how you want. That's the discourse. but what's happening is when they'll do these new policies of that's hate speech or conspiracy. Like, are you serious? Yes, Mike and I are right now. We conspired to do a live show. You better be thankful that we're conspiring, because then we wouldn't have a live show. We gotta get it together, and so they're changing reality for what it truly is in front of your eyes, and as you hear it coming across, the speaker right now.
Kim Griffith, thanks for the super chat. She also puts, remember the same people that supported Kaepernick's right to speak in NFL or a private platform, the right to speak in the NFL or a private platform, the same one cheering conservative censorship. That's correct.
Well, that's true, but I would also argue that you're getting a private organization, i.e. the National Football League, which is owned, right? It's a little league. All the players are owned. They're owned by owners. They're like their employer. Just like if you went to McDonald's and you start working for McDonald's, there's certain rhetoric you can't say. There's in the terms and service, you can't go on the news and start bashing, these people are evil and blah, blah, blah. It's almost like a...
well, she's just saying the people that supported them being able to do that, like the normal people out in the world.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The NFL people, they're allowed to do that, and are the same ones that are supporting,
for
conservative censorship. Like, YouTube's got the right. See, she's right. She's right about that. Because I just literally was at a get together by a pool and had one of the several people that I was pitching this to, and I was saying it in the most, folks, I'm not being subversive or anything. I could approach it to not
delicately
pitch my point. I'm like, man, did you hear about YouTube doing this? He's like, oh yeah, they have the right to. They're private. Really quickly, he's an iPhone owner. I was like, well, did you hear about the lawsuits coming against Apple and for the monopoly or
antitrust?
Antitrust.
That's Google.
And he's like, well,
Facebook.
really? I didn't hear about that. So then I broke that down, and then I went back to the free speech thing. I was like, well. I go, you heard, these are the new platforms. I had to break it down to them that they were the new platforms where everybody's at, and this is where speaking and talking is happening. And they were actually granted special privilege from the government years ago for this. And he's like, really? And he didn't know any of that. And then it took it back to, but now instead of just letting that be the way it was, they're actually going a step further to still kind of run it the way they want to, with even having those. So it needs to be a decision. Do they have to abide by First Amendment because they got these government protections already, and then you can't do what you're doing, or rip off the protection that we gave them, and then they can continue on doing what they want to do.
Because if that's the case, then they'll be held liable for their actions.
That's right.
So it's like now when they shadow ban these things, they start doing this now. Creators of content can now have a legal action to actually repeat and say, hey, we're going to sue you for damages because you said here we can do our First Amendment and you're banning us. So it's things like that. No, I would agree with you. I went over the comment a little bit earlier as you were explaining it, and you're right. Great example, NFL for sure. So it's insane how they try to pass off, and how a lot of people do eat that up. Eat it up like it's truth, and my gosh.
And now the NFL, the players are like union, all right, folks, and they have contracts with the NFL as players. So there's certain things they have to abide by. Now, whatever is probably covered, we talked about it. Some people are like, they have the right to talk, and it's like, well, the only reason all the cameras are there is because of the NFL. They got drafted into it. It's
or
almost
whatever.
their time. So I would argue that their time starts the minute they get dropped off at the stadium, from the minute they get to the curbside walking in, because there's cameras there. Hey, are you going to catch the home, the long shot today and run it into the end zone and score? Or are you going to kick it through the uprights? And I mean, they're there because the game, it's a platform. It's almost like you're on their time. So if you have some kind of contract and it's all discussed in there, then you have contracts with the military that are wanting to do flyovers. There's always been this military presence with all the sports arenas, the baseball, football. So there should be some kind of standard, I would imagine, upheld, and they have it in their contracts. If not, then you had this issue arise, and now they're having to deal with it. They got the loss of people threatening to not watch it anymore because it doesn't seem patriotic. You can have a loss of the military wanting to do any kind of flyovers because it's like, you guys.
Well, and a lot of people probably have never signed a character clause in their contracts before either. Like some of these like you're talking about, they know, like you said, their moment that their job starts is when they hit the property or the whatever, they get out of their vehicle or the bus or whatever, because they are a public person. And so they're representing the whatever football team that they've been picked, and that owner wants to have a certain.
It's like in the military, we pulled in
or her
to
team.
all these ports overseas. We were told that we were, dignitaries, or to look, we were ambassadors of the U.S., like to represent it well.
Yep.
That's why they didn't want us out. So keep that in mind. This and that. I mean, it's all interesting. I totally outside of the realm. I talked to Ben about this about 2 weeks ago. I totally watched this on YouTube, I think, or one of the platforms. Michael Jordan conspiracy that went into why he really retired right after 3 championship wins and had the 3 rings, and then after that 3rd win that season, the summer came and it was coming right back to spring training or training for basketball to start up, and he didn't show up the one day before. The announcement came. They had a whole announcement, him at the table, and if you listen to that carefully, he talks about possibly if they allow me to come back, and but it goes into his gambling and all this. They didn't have the laws back then over basketball that they do with some of these other sports as gambling, and they had a huge gambling addiction. And either way, it was bad for basketball. There was instead of coming out that Jordan was getting booted out, they did a private deal to save
quietly,
quietly
go away.
Guarantee they do something like that. So
yes,
and I'm not saying that this one I watched and I can't remember because it was pretty good. It was newer and it put in a lot of different things. It gave you a lot of facts that were out around then. It was all done in a half hour. I didn't waste a lot of time on it, but it was something side. Folks, I used to watch a lot of basketball in the early 90s. I was a kid growing up playing basketball. I loved the Bulls. I was closer to Chicago than I was to Indiana. Pacers anyway for Indy. So anyway, that was just a side note. It's crazy what can be covered up. They didn't get this thing, and I went into the refs that were actually bought and paid for. Or this one guy was working with his buddy to place bets, and he never betted on himself, he said, but he would give his buddy stuff about other teams. And he said, and this is all well known now, this guy came out and he's confessed, and he had to go through courts and stuff. He said, hey, I know these other players and their relationships, these other coaches or these other referees. I know real well that their relationships with coaches, their relationships with certain players, and how the games typically get
before the game
called, and we remember these games where Jordan would get thrown out for no reason really quickly by the 3rd quarter. And man, the last game he didn't get any fouls. Jordan's really good. Today he seems to be a little touchy-feely, and but he wasn't. If you look back at some of these calls, him swiping and never touching the other player whatsoever, blowing the whistle, foul. And it just looked good. It's crazy, folks. And the players are involved
circus,
in that.
yeah.
Not so much, maybe.
Not
some
so
certain
much.
ones would, some could. Who knows?
Yeah, that's what makes the game interesting, is because it's about 80% controlled, and there's that variability to keep it still an illusion of a game. I mean, we've seen this on other.
Yeah. Little off track there, but still it shows you all the bread and circus in a full scale, right? So it is. It's they had this back in the, this is the Roman or the, Colosseums, folks. All right. Take that, Comey. Country clerks are fighting New York's vote fraud. So looking at some different articles here we're wanting to jump into for some talking points. Anything interesting from you guys out there? We'll actually maybe open up the phone. How many likes do we have in the live feed here?
300. Let me go on my other machine here and do the old thumbs up right here. But bam, 338 so far. So
all right,
push that algorithm.
Getting up there, folks. Got a number. Once we get to maybe 500 likes, we will open up that phone line. Until then, let's look at this article here real quick. Get Ben's mic back on there. Okay, let me see here.
What up, Joe? Thank you for the gear maintenance. Nice.
Let me
General Flynn uncovered massive Clinton scandal linked in terrorist funding. I can't see it in this screen. Immediately targeted by Obama deep state. Deep funding scams. Phew.
Yeah, I got this one. Trying to think what I... There we go.
There you go. Then you got the...
Yep. I had that set for something else the other day. There we go.
Massive Clinton scandal leaked.
So on November 10th, 2017, we reported how Wall Street Journal had received information from anonymous sources who said that General Flynn and his son Michael were involved in a plot to kidnap a Muslim cleric, and return him to Turkey. So the Wall Street Journal...
You can take
what's
my little name out of there all tag. Isn't that crazy? Crazy.
The Wall Street Journal reported Special Counsel Robert Mueller is investigating former White House National Security Advisor Michael Flynn's alleged role in a plan to forcibly remove a Muslim cleric living in the U.S. and deliver him to Turkey in return for millions of dollars, according to the people familiar with this investigation. So that is crazy. Of course, in the aftermath of Obama, it is now customary and expected for FBI and DOJ and other government officials to leak true and false stories to the left-wing media as long as they attack or discredit President Trump or anyone who voted for him. These corrupt criminal leaks will never be investigated, or will they ever be investigated or addressed in court with the deep state in charge of the U.S. government. So regardless of the story that may be being placed in the Wall Street Journal to entice General Flynn to plead guilty to lying to the FBI, of course, what Flynn supposedly lied about has never been leaked through the mainstream liberal media, because he never really did. We went over this yesterday, I believe, but it's still a very interesting little article there.
That is crazy. That is crazy. I mean, it's the Clinton murdering machine knows no bounds, and we're discovering the evil tentacles in every crack and crevice of our government. This is just crazy. The deep state, I mean, all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty intense. Seeking Facts says NFL and many others have shown real Americans their true colors and stance in these times. I would agree. There's all kinds, man. It's some of it I just you're like, you get, after a while you get sick of talking about it, because you literally get physically sick of talking about it, because it's just so much evil, so much stuff. And when the stuff is coming out, General Flynn, I mean, he's in between those a while ago, that two people, one kid was wearing woke with the Q in it, and the other one was wearing 1776 with General Flynn in the middle of them. I believe that picture. And just like, wow, this is crazy. Stuff's coming out. We know it's happening, but it's somewhat amazing when we see it coming out, recognizing, letting everybody else know it's happening. So,
all right. Phone lines are now open. We'll take a couple, some calls here.
Mm-hmm. See what's coming on. 202-505-5198.
202-505-5198 is the number.
Deadly Wound, July 4th announcement. What you think? It's always a celebration of our independence. So, that's always going to be a big thing. There's always a lot of symbology. There's a lot of things happen on that day as well.
Welcome to the Patriot Hour. Who am I talking with here?
It's Cousin Vinny again.
Hey, what's going on?
I just wanted to say thanks again, man. It's getting to be the normal to listen to you guys and hear how the truth gets spread.
Awesome.
We appreciate that. What's going on down in New Mexico? Anything interesting keeping your eye on down there? Are you by the border?
Well, it's actually... I'm in Santa Fe, which is quite a few miles away from the border.
Okay.
I get a lot of hearsay. I get a lot of input, and I know, we've got the wall down there that was actually built, I forget how many miles, by way of GoFundMe.
Yes.
And, it was kind of an obstacle in our governor, Lujan's want, I guess. Here we are sitting here with her asking now for help, I guess, anyhow. It's all good. I will express something that's kind of unique in the last 48 hours. For some reason, those little planes in the sky that seem to have an exhaust issue.
Yeah.
Ain't been
Yes.
there. They just not been there. So I don't know what's going on.
I didn't see any yesterday either here. Interesting.
Isn't that weird? I mean, it's almost like somebody turned a switch and said, all right, nothing incoming is bad. I don't know. This is
We'll definitely keep our eyes posted for sure.
Well, here's the deal. The rabbit holes I've been down are multiples. But you know what? Out of everything that I know, and I know you guys know, and it's cool that you report on it, I cannot get the real straight answer of what's going on with the man-made part of the things happening in the sky. I have benevolent and malevolent thoughts and visions. And it's weird because they seem to be tied together.
Wow.
Do you think with all the sightings? No, can you clarify a little bit more?
Well, I did a lot of research, and I found out that a long time ago, probably in the 50s or whatnot, there was a very benevolent reason for putting things in our skies to change what Gaia does. And I think the guy that pretty much put this forth had really good intentions. In other words, maybe avoiding floods, maybe avoiding, certain types of situations that maybe they could see coming. But then the weird thing, I'm a spiritual guy. I got this interruption where it seemed like Soros and the Georgia Guidestones were related to what was actually, there's some kind of dude, what's his name that does the Microsoft?
Gates.
Bill Gates?
Yeah, and something about his attachment to the stones and attachment to putting something up there that, let's just say.
So let's look into that. What do you have? You have Bill Gates to who now? Give me that one. Bill Gates and stone.
Geoengineering and the Georgia Guidestones.
Okay, that's enough.
Well, I do know the Georgia Guidestones. Well, the Georgia Guidestones, one of their declarations is to basically get humanity down to 500 million, and there's approximately 7.7 billion people.
A controllable number.
Well, and it also talks about being more in harmony with nature, things of this nature. So, we know that there's a depopulation agenda going on. Generically engineered food, diseases that either engineered, Mike, what's your take on that?
Well, I know people start going, I actually got there for a long time thinking, wow, the world is getting overpopulated, 6 billion, now we're at this, or 6 trillion, and then it was 7 trillion, now we're over 7 trillion on the planet, right?
Billion, 7.7 billion.
Billion. Yeah, billions. I'm thinking the money. I'm thinking the money and stuff of the numbers we've been hearing.
That's 22 trillion.
Yeah. What was it? 8 trillion in Iraq is the number I had in my head that was spent. So this billion, 7 billion, over 7 billion now. But we know that we could take every person on the planet and put them in the state of Texas, and they could all have 1 acre each. And we know that there's not even that.
You just hit it. So, you hit the nail on there's not too many humans on this planet.
Yes. Not when you can put them all in the state of Texas. And I would think that, wow, people would be piled up from the ground all the way to the moon.
No, that's just the actual livable land in Texas, not the mountain ranges. Oh, yeah.
I think we all know that there are too many of non-humans. And that is the problem, because when we get rid of that, we're actually going to love one another. We're going to, hey, I've got two, take one, please. I don't need two. Oh, come over to my garden. I'll trade you for what I've been growing. Have a good day. The problem is that 1%, it's actually less than that holds on to every dollars and cents, pounds, shillings and pence. And really, when they have all of that, they want control. And that has to end.
Gotcha.
You know, take their money, shove it where the sun don't shine,
corrupts
and leave my freedom alone.
Yes. All right. No, we appreciate it, New Mexico, and please call in again. We're going to jump to another call here.
Partner. Love the show. You guys just keep on shining your light in the dark places, because a flashlight doesn't work outside in the sunlight.
All right.
There you go.
You heard it there first, folks. That was a great call in. We got the phone lines are still open. Let me put the number back up. We'll take another call. That was great. Interesting theory there on the whole people, the number, folks. And like I told them there, me and Ben, that was a stopper for me. Like, wow, the world really isn't that overpopulated. They want the illusion of one or whatnot. Patriot Hour, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. This
Hey,
is
all right.
Mike and Ben. How's it going?
Good. How are you guys?
We're doing good. Glad to have
well.
you call in. Where are you calling in from?
Knoxville, Tennessee.
All right. We got Knoxville, Tennessee.
Beautiful place.
What's that? Say that again, please.
A beautiful place. Beautiful place.
Oh, yes. It's gorgeous here. East Tennessee rock. Not so much West Tennessee.
So what's on your mind? What has you calling into the Patriot Hour today?
Well, I've been listening, and your stuff is always so interesting. But Ben had made a comment about how, this stuff gets sickening to hear all the time, and even though we need to know what's going on. But I just thought I wanted to interject a little lighthearted chatter on the fact that President Trump had announced that he was going to make a very big announcement on July 4th. And I was wondering what you guys' take is on that.
Nice. Okay, that's a very good question. Oh, so, well, I don't know if I heard him say July 4th. And I have heard a lot of chatter around the internet. Well, the video I caught of him, he said, I got a very big announcement in the next few weeks, over the next few weeks. So I took that to be any time. And I guess this can be interpreted. But Ben came to that. He's like, all right. So we did that date from the 14th of his birthday when he announced that. And if you apply 2 weeks to it, I guess it comes almost to July 4th. It could come at the end of the 2 weeks. But, and then people have been saying, there's this huge event at Mount Rushmore. Well, that's next summer. And 2020, that's next summer that he's bringing fireworks back to Mount Rushmore.
Yep.
For the first time in like 8 or 9 years. The party this year is in D.C. That we thought about going to, the one here in D.C., but Trump has announced that there's a huge party here in D.C. He has announced that there's an announcement, a huge announcement. Now, that little clip that I put together, the context before that is he's talking about healthcare. Does that big announcement have to do with healthcare? I don't know. But that is the context of what he was saying beforehand. But it could relate to, he said a lot of things, something we've been talking about here for the last 2.5 years that we've been going over and talking about, and it has to relate to that. So what does that mean?
Yeah.
I don't know, even though we've been following along as much as everybody. I had a buddy, another side buddy, who's like, man, you should have anybody. What does he mean by that? And I was like, I don't know. He's like, really? You don't know? And I was like, I don't. That's how good he is, I think, as far as keeping me on my toes.
I would say that he also said in that video that you put together, and I think it's a very common thread that he posted that was on Twitter, I believe, was what originally came out, said that, as our commander in chief is talking, he said, nobody knows. this will be a good thing, a good thing for all. So, we've done a lot of unexpected
unannounced,
good
or,
thing. It will be good for
unrelated.
everyone, unrelated. We can speculate what's been going on for the last 2.5 years,
Yep.
but we can be, I guess, certain, at least this much. This year, it's going to be in 4th of July is going to be held on a national level in D.C. There's probably going to be fireworks. There's going to be a good parade. There's going to be a good popcorn, good hot peanuts. It's going to be great, But according to like the George magazine, when JFK Jr. was the editor-in-chief of that, at the time it was active, we know that Mount Rushmore is in the 2020. You've also looked at when does a president who officially throws his hat in the ring for a presidency, about what time do they pick their first running mate? Traditionally, that's in the, July time frame. We know Trump did throw his hat in the ring.
Okay.
Pence is not going to be his first running mate. Hopefully, who knows?
That's right.
So I think that,
I
and
believe
like
it's
we've
gonna
talked
be
about that,
JFK Jr.
Could be
that's a possibility. That's a great theory,
Well,
and
did you
there's
guys
some
see-
evidence to back that.
Yeah. Did you guys see where President Trump had a new Air Force One belt? Actually, two of them. And they are painted in the same exact colors and shades of color of JFK Jr.'s plane.
Oh wow, I did not see that.
Same color.
Wow.
Yeah, there's just so much evidence, and he knows that many of us realize, that we believe that JFK Jr. is alive and he's a part of the Q team. But I believe he's coming back, and he's going to be the leader of the free world at some point.
Oh.
But
we're going to definitely keep following
it's pretty
along.
exciting.
Yes, I cannot deny that is. I just we will definitely keep our eyes open and keep following along. There's so many coincidences that would have to have been lined up, because even in the videos I do, there's something definitely going on there. All right, we got lots of calls coming in. We appreciate you calling in. and
Lots
we
of love. Thank you so much
God
for
bless.
calling in.
Thank you. God bless you
All right.
guys. You're doing awesome work.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for the
Thank
call
you.
in. All right, folks, that was awesome. Again,
I pulled them
who
up,
knows?
actually. On a side note, I was looking at.
I'll give us a minute here.
I pulled up the new Air Force One scheme, paint schemes. It's pretty cool. I had no idea. New Air Force One scheme, the paint scheme.
Let me see here. I'll pull it up too, so we could show it. So new Air Force One paint
schema.
We'll get to another call here in a minute, folks. I just wanted to. Which one is it? This one?
Say United States of America. I don't think it's the real gaudy one, but I think it has something to do with the blue and the.
June 13th. Air Force One to get a new paint job. Red, white, and blue. A shift away from the classic baby blue.
The dark blue. I think that's what it is right there.
Let me go down.
So I think that's pretty cool. So that's what it could look like.
There that is.
Oh, that's.
Dang. This is
He's loving it. Yeah.
Ad real.
Huh.
That ain't gonna play anywhere.
I mean, that definitely screams like, America. F yeah.
America. That ain't a sitting target.
That's not going to blend well with the skies above. Yeah, okay, there you go. There's a baby blue
Tradish.
No. There's a tradish. See this finger?
See his
This
finger pointing
means
at
business. You.
He means you.
That's a frowny face, not a smiley face. A business face. All right. Shoo. Air Force One. Used to look like this.
Artists, imagine what those
Now we're going to do it just like this. Bold Eagle. Fly.
Bald Eagle model. This is your roaring eagle model. Gold, and more gold.
Interesting. So this would be probably the different. Okay, so current design back to Kennedy administration. All right. Luminous aquamarine. That was his favorite color. Okay. Well, thank you, USA Today. I got the fact that luminous aqua green is the baby blue color. You're awesome.
All right, let's take a look.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Hello. Patriot
Welcome
Hour.
to the Patriot Hour.
Hey, this is Sam Carl from Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania.
What's going on,
brother?
Sam?
Well, have you been watching about the $1 billion cocaine bust in Philly?
I heard about that. I did read about it. What's going on? You got some info on that?
Well, first off, it made me wonder whose cocaine was that? You know, could it be somebody within the deep state? You know, who was this? But then 2 days later, you have the refinery just a few miles from there catch fire, and you have the massive explosions.
Could it
Which
be
one
related?
is who and who is what and what is where? You know what I'm saying?
Hey, yeah. Left is right, up is down.
It sounds like a sloppy cleanup job to me, and the CIA is going third-party cleanup job now.
Yeah, sounds a little operational. We've seen this time and time again with the drug running and so there was a massive. Let me see here.
I mean, that's a great connection of the dots right there. You don't have a $1 billion bust, a drug bust, cocaine bust, and then what was how far away was that? Like a few blocks, you said?
It was just a couple of miles from
Couple of miles.
In the Philly
where
port.
the bust was as to where the refinery exploded. And could it be a retaliation against, you took $1 billion worth of our coke, we're going to knock out $1 billion of your oil?
Yeah.
I mean, this is turf wars.
Philadelphia, the latest on a large seizure of cocaine from the container ship in Philadelphia, 6:35 p.m. Two members of a container ship's crew face federal drug charges after agents raided their vessel at a Philadelphia port and seized about 33,000 pounds of cocaine. Court documents filed Tuesday charge Ivan Dusevic and another guy with conspiracy to possess cocaine aboard a ship subject to U.S. jurisdiction.
I wonder where that ship came from. What country of origin was that ship from?
Does it say?
Like, was it from...
Yeah, I haven't been able to delve deep into it or anything. It's just, it's a hell of a, you know.
And then the explosion, what was the... let me see if I can't pull up an article on the explosion.
I've heard of both.
Yeah, it was an oil refinery. Now, it wasn't oil that was burning. It was, I believe, propane, but it's still at a refinery. And
Well, a lot of that
there's
propane...
videos of it.
Uh-huh.
Okay, let me see here. Videos.
So it does bring up an interesting question. The fact that is this a mere way to get rid of evidence via the biological or non-biological kind? Again, like you said, is this retaliation, one faction against another? We've seen internal wars, and that spills out into the civilian streets. you know, let's see here. According to CBS News, the all-seeing eye guy. Oh, so there you go. Interesting. No, we'll definitely have to do a little bit of a rabbit holing into this for sure, because I mean, this
if you
is.
guys can actually find something, you know, and lead us somewhere.
It still
And
says
that's why I
that.
got you on here. I want to just tell you is I appreciate you guys doing this. It's such a big part of the whole Q thing for me, and I'm sure a lot of people. And thanks for your service, and love being in the chat. I'm grilling in the chat, by the way.
All right, yeah,
Grilling.
Grilling.
Okay,
Love being
what's
there
up?
and love spending the time.
Nice.
All right, thanks,
nice.
Grilling. We appreciate it,
Grilling
brother.
for
and
sure, you guys. That's awesome. Thank you.
We're gonna jump to a few other phone calls just to try to get as many in as we can. But the great question, I got it written down. I got about 6 things from you guys today, so I appreciate it. But God bless you. God bless, brother.
All right, God bless you and your family, brother.
All right. All right, there we go. Another phone call down.
Man, it still says that the cause of Friday's fire is still unclear. Late Friday morning, Corley said 3 explosions. You know, it's like not just one. Then one went off, and then a series of others. So we'll get into it.
San Antonio, Texas. You're on the Patriot Hour. This is Mike and Ben. What's going on?
Hey, Mike. What's going on, man? This is Jason here in San Antonio. Yeah, I was just listening, you know, to some of the stuff about, you know, going back to JFK Jr. and I know with the Q post, it was saying something like we would be united Independence Day. It was pointing to that, and I think the same thing as that last person who was on talking about him saying that they think he's going to come out. That'd be definitely awesome.
Okay, have you heard him to be coming out, if it's going to happen July 4th this year or possibly next summer? That's the only confusion I'm on, is because there was a post that was going around from the 8chan, and it was a guy that said that he was, you know, eating lunch, and he sat with an old timer that his son works at the National Forest Preserve for the where Mount Rushmore is. He's like a park ranger there, and that this guy told this other guy that somebody very special is going to be announced there. There's going to be a huge party here with soldiers and bands and fireworks, and that's all at Mount Rushmore. But that's next summer, and Trump has tweeted on that. Trump said we're bringing fireworks back, and I mean, I've seen the tweet from Trump, official account. I think I've even covered it, but that's next summer. And then this summer, here in a week and a half, not even a week, next week is 4th of July. Yes. That's in D.C. But I don't know what's what. And me and Ben went back as far, and I don't think we've done an episode, but this is the kind of research we do. I was like, well, it would be interesting to know how many vice presidents didn't do their full terms or 8 years if a president had 8 years.
Running mates halfway through their
and it's been very few. It's been like 9 total, I think, or something, right? Yeah, roughly. Over
like
the
Hoover
years,
did it, and
due to health
long.
on some of them. Some of them was health issues or whatever reasons. But Trump, I would imagine, will be there next year at the probably the
Independence celebration.
Party. Yeah,
that's
there. He announced it that he's bringing fireworks back. But I imagine he might be at the one here too, coming up in D.C. We never really had anyone name their running mate a couple years before. Typically, the left, like the Democrats, will wait until their party concedes to who's going to be the front runner. Like for Hillary was in July, right before the election, right? And that's when they also announce who their running mate's going to be, because now their party has given them the go-ahead. Like, you're the one that's the front runner. And then they can sometimes pick one of these other people that were running to be their vice president.
Right. You know, I got a question for you. Have you seen the meme with this guy, Vincent Fuchsia, which means to conquer darkness? They're saying this is JFK Jr., and he's in
Vincent.
along with his wife.
Yes, I'm familiar with that Vincent Fuchsia a lot. The height difference and all that stuff they said, but who knows? But what do you believe that he could be?
I believe he could be, because I've got a meme here, and it's got 4 red squares in it. It's got JFK Jr. in the front 20 years ago, and it's got this guy Vincent Fuchsia in the back, and each of the 4 squares gets more and more looking like the Vincent Fuchsia guy, but they all look like JFK Jr. I don't know if you've seen that one. And then his wife's in there. 20 years ago, they got her circled with a red circle. I could send this to you.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yeah, I think I've
that,
seen that
they
one.
show
Mike,
her
go to
in
Q post
Donald Trump rally.
2611.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah, it's like 2016 or something.
Yeah, no, I've
shows-
seen, yeah, that's crazy. I
So
mean,
Vincent Fuchsia looks like his wife, and it's I believe her cousin is also in there. And it shows him holding his hands like JFK Jr., and then it shows JFK Jr.'s plane being sold in some type of magazine, and it shows him calling him Clown in America, Dr. Emmett J. Rice, CIA, Clown in America. He kind of made himself look like a clown. I don't know if you guys have heard this. I believe JFK Sr. was like a, didn't he do like clown parties or something for kids? Didn't he do something before he was president?
Maybe.
I heard something like that.
I wouldn't be surprised. I know that he was a cowboy.
No, and I
of sorts, I think. Yeah, I don't know about his past before that. I do know that, we talk about
what number was that, Ben? Real quick,
2611. We talk about optics. We talk about, is disinformation critical? Is it necessary? And Mike and I, we've went down this rabbit hole a few times, and what would be the ramification of him being alive, him stepping up versus not being alive? How would that change the narrative? And you think, well, I mean, it'd be the same thing if like Bill Cooper wasn't really killed, or like, he still came, oh my gosh, Bill Cooper's he's a guy who really knows about this stuff. But it's almost like we pretty much have a lot of information, not everything, obviously, and people at his level, the Kennedys, like that's crazy high, upper elite echelon. They know things that we don't know. Did he have the means? Yes. He had the money to go away forever.
It's a plausible story.
It's definitely plausible for sure.
I've come to the conclusion.
Yeah.
But I didn't want it to be like, in the research of digging and keep trying to go forward, it would be an eddy for us, like in a river. You get caught in an eddy. You ever seen like a stick that just keeps going in circles, because you have to keep going forward.
Down the river.
We've done the research. We've come to our landing. I think Ben's got his what he thinks. I know what I think, and it's pretty much about the same on this. That it would be great if he was, and it seems to be no matter what. He was a huge part of it. With the George magazine, with the 1999, the start of it all, HRC, the plane. I was involved in the plane wreck. In the Navy off the USS George Washington for his wreckage in July 99. So I remember that being hugely, but not a person on my ship could tell you anything more than what we've read and gone over. It's like, oh, I saw this, I saw that, because we did not find anything that day. It was days later. They supposedly, I think we might even been looking in the wrong area because of the beacon.
If you get a chance, go back to Q Post on April 8th, and it says Curtis and JFK Jr. relationship. Plane crash, 1999.
26. Yep, the start of it all.
So 2611 is it?
Yes.
For me, 2611 is JFK Jr. alive. No. That's the one you wanted me to pull up, or what, Ben?
Yeah, that's all it was. It's just like that's what it says.
What's the one about the 4th of July?
65. Let's see here. I don't know what the number is. It says April 8th, 2018. Q Post.
Okay, let me see here. I'll try to get
1500 hours.
April
8th, 2018. And that's where it says Otis and JFK Jr. And then it says relationship, plane crash, 1999.
Yeah, the start of it all.
The start of it all, yeah.
Right, the start.
Let me see
But
here.
then there's a Q765 post that says watch the water. Then it says Q850, learn double meaning. And then it says Q, A equals 1, B equals 2, C equals 3, etc. Watch equals 5, 5. The water equals 6, 7. 55 plus 67 equals 155. 1. He's the one. 55. 5 of 5.
Wow.
Who's the one? It says John. John who? John 5 of 5. Read it. Years equals 38. JFK Jr. 38 plus when plane crashed. In the story of John 5 5. What were the sick watching? They were watching the water, waiting for it to move. North Korea background pics move from troubled to calm. Q850 learn double meaning. Let's see see Q be ready announce. Q team
Well,
will no
can I
doubt
pause you real
call
quick?
us again.
Can I pause you real quick so we can go over it? When there was a picture of the North Korea, the look at the waters where the waters were all tumultuous, and then it had the other picture and it was calm and there was a sunrise and it was like a golden like a dawning of a new day. But in the left picture or the tumultuous picture, it had a bunch of American representatives or something like that, and it was like a bunch of like American, I think, representatives. Then the other picture, it just showed Kim Jong-un and his North Korean delicacy, and no Americans at all in there. So it's kind of like it's been purged. I did see that aspect of it, and I know this is where. When we were saying that, when you're talking about Q posts, that's where Mike and I are kind of careful to use Q as like the word of God, because in one aspect, you're right. You go through it. We look at the other people who break it down. What is meaning A equals 1, B equals 2. You're talking about numerology tied in with gematria, and we totally get it. We love that. But again, Q says he's, nope, he's not alive. But then in prior posts, it says, well, who's the start of it all? So we've definitely agreed, like where there's compelling evidence for both sides that, yes, he has been in hiding. He is going to come out and he's going to like, okay, that's going to be crazy. There's also evidence that he was murdered and like this did happen. It's like, wow, that is crazy. And like his best friend, Trump or whatever at the time, was like, they killed my friend. Oh my gosh, this happened, and who knows? This is where so interesting,
See, with the route I took and what I came up with, so did a few others, is that they tried to kill JFK Jr., but they were not able to. Somebody came to their rescue, like our own military, possibly, like the Wizards and Warlocks. Maybe.
Well,
here's they came in and.
Here's my take.
And protect it, supposedly.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
No, and that's very all plausible, but yeah, it's just a storyline, right? It's like this.
Right.
Here's some facts I can spit out about it all. His mom, Jackie, she was given Secret Service till the day she died, I believe, because he got killed, and the spouse of a fallen president is going to get Secret Service, just like the president would have got till the day she died. The kids were able to get it till they were 18. So John, being that he was 3 years old when his dad got murdered that day, he was given Secret Service alone until the age of 18. So he would have had some high-ranking people over him watching, almost like a father figure. He would have learned probably little tricks of how they were looking at their cars and examining them to look for bombs, where traditionally people like us, we don't go through that, right? Even if you're a pilot, when you overlook your plane, you're looking for cracks or a bad rudder or any tires that are getting bald. You're not looking for bombs, but they found one on his, or he found one. Now, you go to the movie aspect of it. If somebody planted a bomb on his plane and was going to make sure he got on it, they probably would have had somebody there sitting off a half mile away with binoculars, keeping an eye on that plane to see when he gets in it or who the next person was. So now, as he found this bomb, he would have had to assume that he was being watched over his very shoulder at that very minute. But he's not going to get into it all of a sudden. Maybe he did. Maybe he still got into it. Maybe he drove it over by the hangar. Maybe he opened up the hood. Maybe he started working on the engine. Maybe he started changing tires. And then maybe he was able to pull it into into the hangar for the night or the next couple nights. And then that made the person that was watching be like, oh man, we don't know. He didn't get in it? No, he looks like he's doing maintenance on it. And then he would have talked to some people around him like, hey, if I don't die, if this doesn't hit the papers, if this doesn't go down, they're just going to come back. It's going to be in 6 months or in a year or in a year and a half. They're going to, I'm going to be pumping gas. I'm going to be always looking over my shoulder. So the next phase came into them to go underground and continue on. I think the John magazine wasn't owned by the Illuminati. We know that every movie that comes out by them has subliminal messaging put into it. Even if the low-level actor doesn't know what's going on, there's people that are putting props in the background, posters, certain artwork. Not everyone knows everything, but it's all part of a bigger scheme, a bigger picture. George Magazine was subliminally calling out the killer. He planned to put more and more in that magazine. I think for 5 years that magazine got to be out there, that it was doing headshots and shots across the bow. I think the Illuminati members are reading it. They didn't have control of the magazine since he was doing it. And there was the vice versa war going on with what he was doing with some of the, shots out of the, taking shots at him basically. And then they finally, Hillary's going to run for Senate. There's no way she was going to beat a Kennedy. That's that's like
it's a fact.
Damn it, I got my first time. I'm going to run against a damn Kennedy. Are you serious? So there's a lot that lines up for it to be very, very plausible. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree 100%.
Not change the subject just a little bit here. Have you seen the one where it says, if my dear friend Donald Trump ever decided to sacrifice his fabulous billionaire lifestyle to become president, he would be an unstoppable force for ultimate justice that Democrat and Republicans alike would celebrate. Words of John F. Kennedy Jr. in George Magazine, June of 1999.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah, I believe it. I know there's been quotes that early on that when JFK Jr. was still alive before 99 and him and Trump are together, that Trump was like, this is the brains right here. Like Trump always promoted JFK Jr. to be president. And JFK Jr. is like, it's all, it's you, Trump. I know that was said very briefly, like years and years and years ago. So again, Mike and I definitely agree. It's sides. Again, we don't know. Yes, disinformation is necessary. Everybody sees Q, so maybe they have to still give the optics that JFK Jr. is dead. But it's also like, what is JFK Jr. going to do for we the people? Is Trump doing that, or Trump's not doing it enough and he needs JFK Jr. to help him do it more? You know what I'm saying? It's
I would agree. It's a game changer too, as far as if he was to come back out on the scene, it would prove a lot of there'd be a lot of stuff shut down immediately with conspiracy on our level, or
they're at the conspiratorial level for sure. They could say, I faked my death.
I think he was a Democrat when he went away then, and now it'd come back as a Republican or just the right thing. I don't really think Trump's a Republican. I think Trump just used that platform. I think he's more possibly of a constitutionalist of sorts, and I don't know. You have to take one of the platforms. We know that the Democratic
That's how the game works
same anymore anyway. So these guys would have to come out and just shred what was there. So anyway, on the screen, go ahead.
I think the whole big story around this comes to, JFK Jr., his family, the Kennedys were really high up. They were part of the top families. And they have the money to do it. They have the know-how. And obviously his father was going to come out against these secret societies before he got killed. So it was already trying to be planned. Now it's like a reunification, like to unify the whole world now is what it seems like. They're trying to come out, and not only is it a great awakening for America, but a great awakening for the whole country, the whole earth.
The whole earth. There's a lot of other countries. We agree.
People that are controlling us in the background, and they got tired of it. These people just killing off people when they want to do it, when they don't like what they're saying, or doing mass killings with whether it be vaccinations or whatever, any other way that they're doing it. It's just sick with their Nexium sex cult and all that crazy stuff they're doing behind the scenes there that I just don't even like talking about.
But
we all know what's going on.
Well, and it's just like the border. All these years, most people have only, when they thought of the border, only took into their mind that it was like the desperate, hungry person crossing. They never took in mind that it was human trafficking or the drug flow, or then they're like, oh yeah, I heard the drug flow. You're right, I forgot about that one. But yeah, this is human trafficking stuff. It's like that's the main concern: human trafficking, the drugs that are killing and destroying. And then thirdly, possibly the inflow. Well, we got the criminals that we're worried about, the MS-13, the criminals. But then I'm least concerned about the hungry person and the woman and the child and even the man, if that's what it boils down to. But anyway, very good point here to keep in mind is I agree with you on it's all plausible. If anyone is going to be able to pull off their own death, have a plane go down, have some Navy connection buddies. You look at the circumstances, the Navy divers all got separated afterwards and went on to different little areas. The tapes are missing. 17 people were at the funeral for JFK Jr. At sea.
Hey, they told us 9/11
really coincidental.
Happened by a bunch of terrorists with box cutters, and still a lot of people believe that. So it's crazy.
He goes into hiding and comes out. And then we still have Trump possibly until 2024, and then we get JFK Jr. that runs for the next 8 years, and then after that maybe Trump Jr. runs, and we get him for 8. So we can have this whole next 18 years locked in with a group of people that we think are patriots and doing the right thing. And I would agree.
Right.
It's going to be awesome. So
and you know what? In our hearts, I know in your hearts too, man. We know Trump's the man to do what he's doing, and he's not pulling our chain by any means.
Yeah,
he's doing what really has to be done for the country, for us people that are, good, God-fearing people. I don't know. Just so you know, my handle on here is IMD1 Nunchuck Master. I got a little clock next to it. I think it says like or something like the head on it.
Sweet. All right, appreciate it.
I'm in there. But, all right, man. I'm gonna get going. I got some things to take care of, but it was awesome talking to you guys.
Sounds good. Thank you for calling for sure.
All right. Thank you, brother.
Sir.
We appreciate it. All right.
Yes, sir.
There you go. All right. We actually had a caller had to let us go. Ain't that crazy?
Isn't that crazy?
He had some stuff.
No, and like, you guys, I agree. There's a lot of good things that we want to have happen. Is it plausible? Yes. Kennedy has money. Yes. Is he a part of the original 13 bloodlines? Yes. The Kennedy has lots of wealth. Did he have the means to do it? Yes. All these, that's what makes
everything
it
lines up.
Plausible.
It's like, there's a lot of Kennedys and none of the other ones did it. Well, there you go. There's your, the chances of one of the own elite turning on their others and doing great things is very, very, very minute. But it could happen. But
it does happen. Yeah, there's been very few incidents in history.
Most millionaires aren't going to do this and do that and do all these great things, blah, blah, blah. But a few will. We've known that to be the truth, folks, and you have to. The light does exist. Good does exist. And sometimes good does beat evil. It does. It just happens. Lots of times evil gets to prevail and run amok for hundreds of years. That happens too. We've seen it. So anything is possible. We don't have all the answers. We like to dive into them. We love the talk just to engage in it. It keeps conversation going. It's great. Very great thing. And we're going to leave it on that. We're not going to take any more phone calls. We're already at about an hour and a half. But I honestly don't have any true thought. And I guess to give that guy a really fair answer, what is my opinion or thought on that whole JFK thing? I think it's a great I think it's plausible just as much as the story of him going down is. It's like equally could be happened. Could a rich person plot their own death, or if they come to a conclusion that they're trying to be put to death and they can kind of play into that scenario. I mean, that's not a conspiracy. I mean, it's like somebody put a bomb on his plane. That's a conspiracy. Or it's like, well, his plane just went down because he got into bad weather. Oh, okay, that makes sense. I mean, either way, the story is that he got into a plane and that plane went down with his loved one on it, and they haven't been seen since. That's all true. So we know that much is true. Did he escape and live and he's off hiding? Possibly. Did he really go down? Well, they found bodies. I don't know. I thought they never did find the bodies. Some say they did find the bodies. Where are the tapes? The tapes are missing. Where are the pilot? Let me talk to some of these divers, the Navy divers. Let me see some of the Navy archive tape. Well, we lost them. Oh, funny how you always lose stuff when it can show your innocence. It happens every time with these agencies. So I don't know. Interesting. And again, folks, we're not for it or against it. I'm actually for it, but there's still lots more to keep covering, and we'll always entertain it. We'll always look into it, and any new leads we'll dig.
Oh, we love it.
But yeah, any closing thoughts on that one for you, Ben?
Always the mark of a true wise man is that he can entertain a thought and still not believe in it, and keep that under. That is the basis of what Mike and I always strive to do, is that yes, we have our own beliefs, but we are open to a lot of ideas. We'll research the living crap out of them. We'll go down the rabbit holes. We'll try not to get caught in eddies, but in the same aspect, we'll try to keep our eyes on the prize and ultimately trying to get the truth out to you guys as we see it, and keep this, keep traction in the forward going, going on forward. I'm looking for the 2020 election. We got 2 more years to go. Great things are going to happen in 2 years. But we got this thing coming up, like a week in DC. We'll see what happens. It could be some awesome announcements. We don't know announcements, everything from extra tax laws or the Federal Reserve or all this good stuff. Nobody knows. So, 2020 is going to be awesome. There's some things that are happening. Would it be great? Of course it would. But again, we're going to keep on going. And if it does happen, well, you're going to see it here on the Patriot Hour for sure.
And we talked about possibly later on this evening doing another Sunday later night, and maybe be around 8 o'clock for another little call in
as well.
That way we catch some of the evening people. So 8:30, somewhere around there. Possibly join in for that if you guys are available, and we appreciate it. Again, like Ben was getting into, don't ever take what we say to be 100% word, truth. Listen to everybody you can, read everything you can. Get all the facts, come to a conclusion that best sits with you folks, and only you know what that is, or how it resonates with you, your mind, your body, your soul. Use your stomach, your best foot forward, and you're going to come to these a well-defined result that sits right with you, all right, based off lots of facts. And you got to be able to chew the meat, spit out the bones. So always think for yourself, use your discernment, connect the dots, come to your best conclusion. That's all you can do. You can't be wrong. You'll feel best at the end of the day doing that. Sleep well. All right. Again, I'm Mike. This is the Patriot Hour. God bless. Godspeed each and every one of you worldwide. And where we go one, we go all. We'll see you back here on the next episode, coming real soon, possibly later tonight.
All right. God bless.
All right, brother. We'll see you guys later.
Oh, yeah.
Have a good one.
So it is to the printing press, to the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance. Without debate, without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can survive.